Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. I have got the amazing Swapna Thomas, who's an online business mentor with me today. Hey, Swapna.
Hi, Claire. Hi, everyone.
Oh, it's so awesome to have you on here. As you know, and for people listening at home, I'm got a bit of a biz girl crush on Swapna pretty much since the start of my online business journey. There was when I first sort of came into online business, you and a couple of other of the lady biz people were definitely that kind of aspirational and inspirational people for me, where I was like, oh, that's possible and oh, that's a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. And you were definitely one of them. So wonderful to have a chat with you. So you and I have obviously known each other probably for, I don't know, a year or so, a bit over a year maybe. And
Probably.
together on content and various other bits and pieces. I love your Facebook group, Bossy Girls in Business, Anyway, your Facebook group that I absolutely love as well, playing there quite a bit. So, Swapna, tell us a bit about what you're doing. I know you've kind of got some changes going on in your business at the moment, which is super exciting. And when I first contacted you to see if you wanted to be on the show, I had seen a thing that had come up, I think, on Facebook that you'd said something about, trying to get the message across to people to stop feeling guilty for feeling like something's too easy. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But, we'll cover all of that sort of thing. But tell us a bit about what you do and what you're doing and who you are and what your beautiful business is.
Okay, so starting from the very beginning, I have to say that the girl crush is absolutely mutual. I also love everything that you do, and the way you bring your personality into everything that you do. It's just brilliant, and it is like personal branding 101. And it's
That's
amazing
nice to hear.
watch you, just infuse everything with that vibe that you want to bring to your business, and effortlessly so. Talking about me, well, as you know, I live in India, and it was my dream to create a global business, and work from people with all over the world. And initially, I started off as a mommy blogger, and it was quite limited to Indian audience at that time. But I pretty much got over it very quickly because, I'm an introvert, and writing about myself is difficult enough, but writing about my family and especially my daughter was not at all comfortable for me after a certain point. It just didn't feel right. So but by the time I got to that realization, I had already, won a few awards, had been featured in a lot of newspapers, and I had also monetized my blog. So it was like heroin to a junkie, right?
Trying to wean yourself off it.
Yeah, like when you're able to make money off the internet, being in your PJs, and bra optional, right? So that's like really something lucrative, and you want to know what's more out there. Like, that version didn't work out, but there is something else out there. And that's around the time I started following a lot of online business coaches, money coaches, and especially Denise Duffield Thomas, who and her work around money blocks, which really opened my eyes up to that there is something called money blocks. Like, do they exist?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So I got more and more into this kind of work, and it was basically around the whole internet marketing industry, how online business is conducted, and how the paradigm is completely different from what we have been told about business. What I and you probably have grown up seeing business being all about. completely changed my perception of what being in business. And one of my money blocks was my father always talking about business people as being dishonest and, being cutthroat and highly competitive, and they don't care about anyone. But here I was watching an industry which was collaborative and caring, and also they are making money in a very, very legal and very in a path of integrity, like being of service to others, right? So it just changed my perception of business, and I decided that I wanted to explore this more, and that's how I got into the world of online business. And for the past 1.5 years, I have been working in the space of content marketing, because I totally believe that content is the backbone of any online business. And, it is the number one way you can build authority, you can have a sizzling online presence, and you can quickly start making money in your business as well by providing valuable and content that your audience really needs, right? So that's what I have been doing for the past 1.5 years. But like you said, there is a little bit of a pivot and a little bit of a reinvention around the corner. So that's the next step.
Yeah, beautiful. Very exciting. And I've really loved hearing your journey and that sort of thing, and seeing all of those bits and pieces kind of coming together. And obviously when you first kind of came into my world, it was definitely all about the content stuff, and I didn't really even know what that meant back then, to be honest. And everyone was saying Swapna's the content queen, Swapna's the content queen, you want to get your content sorted, you go to Swapna. And it was just kind of a thing that everyone in our sphere probably knows the same sort of thing. So I've definitely followed a lot of your teachings, I suppose, and then hearing, some of that beautiful credibility that you've created with all your blogging business and that sort of thing. But like I said, something that has really, I suppose, intrigued me is how you show up and how you come across, and that you're very innovative when you do things like webinars, and they're not just to sit down and listen to a webinar. It's called a planning party or a content party, and it's fun, and there's this whole kind of brand around everything that you do that's just fun and let's get it done, and kind of no bullshit, which is just so freaking gorgeous, and I really love it. So I've really enjoyed seeing that. And like I said, when I saw the thing on Facebook come up a couple of months ago, I can't remember what the whole story was, but you'd said something about like stop feeling guilty because something's too easy, and I was like, yes. And I had this conversation with so many people. I was talking to someone about 6 months ago, and she was trying to make a decision between 2 or 3 different things, job related, I think. And she's like, yeah, this would be good and this would be good. I don't really know, but I don't want to do that one, idea X, just because it's the easy option. And I just was like, why not? Like, you don't have to take the hard road to fall on your sword and to be a martyr or whatever it's about, or just so that it looks like you're trying harder. And I had a similar conversation with my best friend a couple of weeks ago, and she was saying there's this whole thing, especially with women, that about the perfectionism thing, like trying to having to look a certain way, having to come across like you've got your shit together, you've got a great business and a great family and all these things, all your ducks are in a row and it's all cool, but you're not allowed to look like you're trying, right? It's got to look like seamless, but under the water you're paddling crazily just to try and sort of stay afloat at the top. So anyway, I thought I would just sort of bring that up because I really wanted to sort of explore what that kind of means for you and where that came from for you, if you can even remember what that conversation was about. Really interesting.
I do remember that, and I think it just like you said, that post had also sparked from one of many conversations with people around understanding their zone of genius and doing what feels easy to them. And you are so right about, this is cultural programming. And I think almost every culture has variations of this, like hard work is the road to success, right? And unless you hustle, you cannot get the success that you deserve. Right? So there are so many blocks around deservability and how much work you have to put in to reap the benefits. Like if you haven't done enough, then whatever benefits are coming your way are something you don't deserve. So these things have been programmed into generations, and it is really difficult to break out of them, but it is imperative that you break out of them, because otherwise it's going to be one long road to struggle down for you. Like you constantly be struggling to that analogy that you gave, like paddling like crazy under the water, but trying to look smooth and floating gracefully like a swan on the surface. It can be that you are actually floating just gracefully and not really paddling so hard, because you're doing things that come easy to you. You're doing things that are like almost like breathing, right? They don't require any effort. They don't require any trying to work against the current, right? That's how it feels when you are trying too hard.
And I think, like you mentioned before, that we've all got these kind of, most people have worked in a job before, or there are these ingrained kind of belief systems and values that business has to be hard. And I remember hearing from everyone, like, if you start turning a profit within your first 3 years, you're doing really well. Like, you should expect to lose money for at least 3 years, because that's just the only way to start a business. Or you have to go and get a business loan, and you have to put in 70 hours a week, and you have to do all these awful things, which were very sacrificial and very much about just trying so hard to do a thing to make some money and all that sort of thing. And I remember, and I completely by accident have ended up doing some of that stuff in the past, and going, hang on a minute, I'm trying consciously not to do this. But I remember there was a time when it was probably a year ago, I'd had the best month so far in my business, and it seemed like a lot of money. And I said to my coach at the time, I said, I feel really guilty taking money from these. Like, all I was doing, the one example, I was just doing an Excel spreadsheet for a planning document, and there was a couple of worksheets, but it was a freaking Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, I had this massive guilt around, why is someone paying me to do an Excel freaking spreadsheet? And she was like, that's because it's easy for you. That's the whole idea. It's supposed to feel easy for you, but that's your thing. It's not necessarily everyone else's thing. So I had this real kind of moment where I had this, that's the whole idea. It's supposed to feel easy, and it's okay that that's something that is easy and good for me, and that I'm good at, and that, I love doing, because it's a planning thing. And the value is that that's not everyone's jam, and some people don't love Excel as much as I do, because I'm a bit of an Excel geek. And and just sort of getting to that point of realizing, I don't have to feel guilty about this, because it is actually value adding and it's easy for me. Oh my God, this is perfect. That's exactly what it's supposed to feel like, was just life changing, business changing. So, and you probably had the same sorts of things about that kind of, feeling like it's easy, and things that you're absolutely
all the time
fantastic at.
All the time, especially when I was doing content planning sessions with people. I have this really simple framework of extracting content out of people, and they would be like, oh my God, like this makes sense to me, and like my content planning has changed completely. And I would be dying a little inside, because I'm like, oh my God, that was so easy for me. I used to feel like I'm fooling all these people, and one fine day they're going to wake up and they are going to tell me what the hell have I done? Like, that was not a big deal. But like you said, it took me time to embrace that it is easy for me doesn't mean that it is easy for them. And it is about the results that we are creating. Like, that is what our work is all about. Like, how are we easing our clients' lives? And this is how you and I do it. You do it with the planning and the productivity part of it, and I do it with the big picture strategy of it. So it takes time to come to terms with it, but that's the only way. You have to embrace that it is something that feels natural to you. It's easy for you, but it is okay to make money with that. Which comes easy to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I think there needs to be a distinction between the fact that there is hard work and, and there is this perfectionism and feeling not good enough kind of work that the work that you do because you don't feel good enough, right? And even, even if it feels easy to us, even if it feels natural to us, there is still a lot of hard work that we will put in. Like it takes, a whole night, pulling an all-nighter to get a landing page up sometimes, or a sales page up sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of hard work will still always be there. But just doing or going against the grain or going against the current because you feel that you're not good enough, or trying to buy up courses for things that you think you are lacking right now, and you need to patch it up with these courses or programs, that is something that is not going to work out in your favor in the long run.
Yeah. And so before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about purpose and that sort of thing, and kind of having that gut feeling about the direction that you want to go in, but sometimes we go on a bit of a different route to get there, and how imperative that process is. Like, there's been so many things that's happened in probably the last 2 or 3 months in my business, or people I've talked to around things like my customer journey, or branding, or marketing, or content, or legals and that sort of thing. And I've had this overwhelming feeling of like, oh shit, I wish I had known you or done this session or done this work when I started my business. But then once I've processed it, I have this moment of going, actually, it would have been completely pointless if I did this at the start of my business, because there's been so much change and so many processes that have kind of happened. This massive process that's happened of just trial and error, and it's not over. I know, this time next year, my business is going to look completely different to what it does now. Hopefully not too different, because I think I'm getting there. But it is a process, and I think I had a really similar conversation about this with someone else recently about the business plan. That we kind of, it's one of those other beliefs of business. Like, if you want to have a business plan, you want to have a business, you've got to have that 140-page business plan document. And you've got to tell us exactly where you're going to be in 5 years and 10 years, and what your forecasts are, and your budgets, and your business model, and your service, and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's, it's a huge amount of information. And I said to someone yesterday, if I had done that at the start of my business, I'd either be locked into something that I freaking hated because I thought that I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't really. But then I'd feel guilty for straying from that, so I'd just do it anyway. Or I would have done the thing that was always going to happen and naturally has happened, and then feel like I've completely wasted all that time and energy creating a business plan that's just sitting in a folder somewhere, never to be seen again. Yeah. So there's I guess this thing to be said about understanding and kind of clarifying for yourself roughly what you want out of your business, and what sort of a lifestyle you want it to support you in, or what sort of, like, what your life wants to look like, and build your business around that, rather than trying to build a business and fit everything else around it, or get really strict and strategic. And it's a really weird thing for me to say, right? Because I love the planning. I like, planning is my life, and if I could just plan stuff forever, I'll be a happy person. And so for me to even say, don't do a business plan, like, don't do one of those big scary business plans unless you're going for a grant or a business bank loan or something like that. Have a bit of an idea about roughly kind of where you're going in terms of your business and all that sort of thing. But the most important thing is to understand why and your purpose, and to check in regularly on alignment and all that sort of thing, which I think is a really big key. And you were talking about that before we started recording as well.
Yeah. Oops. Awesome. So, something that I recently read while I was reading this book by Lisa Messenger, it's called Daring Disruptive, is this concept of failing fast, right? That you don't prepare this 150-page document of a business plan, but you actually immediately start interacting with your target market and putting your product out there even before it is, ready, or to just assess the demand and, just put it out there and fail fast. Like if it is going to fail, it is going to fail anyway, right? So but let's do it fast, so that if the idea is not working, if the idea is not validated, then you can move on to the next thing, rather than just get stuck on one idea and then, beat it to death with the entire business plan and everything, and then realize that the market was never ready for that product. So I think that is the distinction. And you're very right when you say that there is still that foundation work that you need to do, but it should be around what you want out of the business. And that personally, I've 1.5 years ago when I started, I was not really very clear about that. I just started because I wanted to do this, and I wanted to see if I can make money out of this. That was one of my primary drivers at that time.
Driver, absolutely.
And I did make money out of it, and good money out of it. But then, like you said, I started feeling that I was trying to fit my life around my business, and I was trying to do these things which didn't truly align with me, weren't really me, and it just all sort of started feeling out of whack. Like I'm just living someone else's life, and I'm just doing things,
going through the motions,
autopilot mode, right? And that's the time I had to, and it's in my case, my body literally had this reaction to this process. Like our body knows best, right? Do you want to pause? Okay. So my body literally, it shut down. Like I couldn't get out of bed for many days because there was no energy to just get out of there and do things, because I started feeling that this wasn't where I wanted to go. And the more I tried to fight against that, the more my body would react and manifest all kinds of illnesses. So it was time for me to just tune into myself, and I had to go back to the drawing board and do all that work that I skipped the first time around, to understand my values, what I really wanted out of my business, what sort of life was I envisioning with this business, right? And what the biggest thing, what was my why? Money is definitely a very key, it's a key driver, right? But there is more to it. Like it cannot just be money, because then you cannot sustain that passion for long. How long will you sustain the passion for just making money? It has to be bigger than that. So I had to go back and start doing all that foundation work. It has taken a lot of time, and it's sometimes you do feel whether I am wasting all this energy and time, but honestly, right now I feel I'm more in control and more in alignment with my business than ever before. It's still scary. It's still very much feels like I'm starting from scratch. But I now know where am I going. What's the vision? What's the big picture here?
And I love that.
So do.
I think the key message for anyone who's either starting business or in business and thinking about a change or whatever is that it is a process, and there doesn't have to be any guilt or anything about having wasted time or wasted energy or having to put yourself out there in a different light or with a different title or that sort of thing. That's not it's not even a problem. It's an absolutely crucial process to have had to go through to get to this point. And if you hadn't gone through all that other stuff, you wouldn't be sitting in this place where you feel aligned and like you can kind of finally breathe and like it's easy again. And at some point in the future, that may change again as well. And that's totally okay. And that's part of the process. But we don't have to just pick a business and do that forever. That's the whole reason we started businesses, was so that we could be flexible and we could follow the energy and we could do what we wanted to do and we can make the rules and we can make mistakes and we can stuff things up and we can go, shit, that didn't work, I'll try something else. Or we can go, wow, this is awesome and I totally wasn't expecting this. And if an opportunity comes up and you want to try it and follow that and see what happens, and if it doesn't work, that's cool too. Like, it doesn't, I think I end up every episode saying, it just, whatever happens, it doesn't really matter. Very articulate. But yeah, but I think it's a really great thing. And it's, you know, it gives that kind of kudos to people who can say, yeah, this isn't where I want to be, and I'm going to try something different now, because that's like, I don't want to do that thing anymore. Which holds space for other people to be able to do the same thing as well without having any shame or anything, angst. Like, it just isn't a thing. It's awesome. It's great. I can't wait to see what you do next.
That's the beauty of, you know, the new paradigm of entrepreneurship. It is not about putting you in a box and telling you that you have to stay there forever. You can, you know, completely reinvent yourself, your business, and there are no rules anymore. Like, you know, you have to do this in a certain way. Anybody and everybody can do the kind of business, because there is an audience for everyone. That's what I always say. It doesn't matter how quirky you are or how weird you are. There is somebody who resonates with that weirdness and gets you. And if you come through for that person, that's all that matters, right? And you will find your audience, and you will create your business, and you will make money as well.
So Swapna, on a really practical level, with you having changed a few things, and I know your Facebook group has changed names at least once since I've been around, and I don't know if that's in the future for other things to happen in the future, but do you have any sort of tips if someone feels like they are kind of making some a bit of a pivot or a bit of a change or a complete like slate clean, and how they kind of move forward from there, both like from their personal perspective, but also for their tribe? Like, how does that kind of how does that happen? How do you think is kind of going to be the way forward for you to try and reposition yourself in that sort of respect?
I think, first of all, you need to understand, why are you repositioning? Is it just because you think this is not working and you are doing it out of FOMO, or maybe you've seen a new trend and you just want to leverage on that trend? I mean, some people do end up doing that, right? But that kind of repositioning doesn't really work in the long term. So you really need to know what are the motives behind your repositioning. Why are you doing this? Unless it is driven internally and it is an intrinsic need to change, I don't think, that's not repositioning. Then you're just trying to, just doing something for the sake of doing something different. So that's not going to work. The second thing is your community needs to resonate with your pivot as well, right? And you also need to be ready to let go some of them, because they don't resonate with your new direction, and you shouldn't have any resentment towards that, or you shouldn't have any expectations that all of them will, join the bandwagon when you're going to a different direction. That is okay. Those who get it, they will follow you and they will be there with you. And probably some of them will also say, I can totally see that, I'm actually now wondering, why didn't you talk about this before? So that's okay. And I think the biggest element to this is storytelling. What story behind why you're doing this? And if you're able to communicate that story with integrity and authenticity, there is no problem. Everybody will be on board, and they will understand where you're coming from, because it's your story, because it has all the ups and downs that you have gone through, and they will be a part of your story as well. Like they will they will feel that they have been a part of that journey as well. And I think everybody knows evolution, right? Everybody goes through evolution, and all of us have pivoted or changed directions or changed paths somewhere. So if they're being still judgmental, I think they're just,
not people you want in your tribe anyway. And I guess the beautiful thing about the kind of the spaces that you and I probably both work and play in is that it's really very much about connection with a person. Like there's so many people who I've got a dream team. I've got a dream team list in Evernote, of course, Evernote. And it's like all the people who I either want to work with or work for or do something for me, because I just think they're awesome. And some people, I've got their name and the job that I want to do with or for or have them do for me. And some people, I've just got their name because I don't really know what they do, or I don't really feel like I have a need for the thing that they do, but I'm just really drawn to that person and their message and their, you know, if you've seen a video or something, you think, oh, they sound so cool and I really get them, and like we're quite similar, or we're not similar at all, and that's why I'm absolutely inspired, or, you know, all that sort of thing. And that's cool too. So if you've got personal connections and it's an authentic and real, and you're showing up, and like you said, you're telling the story and you're not bullshitting about it, people, like the people who you want to stick around will stick around because they're connected to you. And, you know, people who've done content work with you have no doubt got awesome content stuff from you, but they've also really loved working with you. So when you turn around and say, actually, just going to tell you a bit of a story and I'm not going to do so much of that because I'm going to focus on this now, and people will be like, yeah, cool. I think I trust her because I've gone through this process on that. And so there's that trust factor. And if she's going to go and do this thing, well, if I need it, she'll be the first person I go to because I get her and she gets me, and there's a thing there. So it's not necessarily always about the function. It's about the person as well. So awesome. Yes.
Yeah. And I honestly don't take my audience for granted. And I think there's a genuine, way to educate your audience. So even when you're pivoting, there is a scope to educate your audience and establish your credibility again. So I can, if I am pivoting to a new direction, then it is the onus is on me to prove that I know that stuff as well. I don't expect anyone to just blindly follow me onto the new path because I say that I'm amazing at that, right?
Which we will, but yeah, anyway.
But I think the onus is on the person who is changing the path to show that I know what this path is all about, or at least I know why am I walking on this, and what will you gain if you follow along with me, or you're walking besides me.
Yep.
So I think it's just fun and it's just experimental, and this is what we do. Why we do what we do, to have these ups and downs. If it was smooth sailing all the way, it would be boring as hell. I wouldn't want to sign up for something. It wouldn't be a business.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I can't wait to see the transformation and all the new things. I love your newsletters at the best of times, so I can't see what's coming up I can't wait to see what's coming up in the new year and all of that sort of thing. So thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us about this. It's been an awesome message. I love the way that you've delivered it, and I just love following you. So thank you a million times. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow you? We'll put your links and everything in the show notes, but is there anything going on for you in the near future that people need to know about or anything like that?
Because I'm in the midst of a rebrand, actually, I will just ask everyone to follow me on to my website, swapnathomas.com, and just maybe hang around to see the new stuff that's coming up.
I know I will be. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Swapna, for coming on, and I'll talk to you really soon.
All right. Take care, Claire.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.